Okay.
Cusco.
Okay. Woo! So, after a very long drive and some crazy navigation, we crossed into El Desierto de Tatacoa. And this is a very special place in Colombia. This is one insane desert as you get down into the flatlands. It's much drier now, it's much hotter. And we're in an area called Cusco. This is a very special area. It shows erosion, colors. We're getting a tour guide right now to see the rest of the eroded formations.
Cactus, deserts, mineral earth eroded formations, and a dry, arid landscape. Not the typical associations we had already experienced throughout the beautiful country of Colombia, but here we were, in El Desierto de la Tatacoa. One of only two arid zones in the entire country, the first being the Guajira Peninsula and the other being Tatacoa, and there was a lot to see. A completely unknown place to us at the time, El Desierto de la Tatacoa may be one of the most interesting places, not only in South America, but all of Colombia as well. What makes El Desierto de la Tatacoa so unique is not only its immediate ecology, with intricate and eroded earth formations, but also its geological history, beginning with the fact that it is actually not technically a desert, but a dry tropical forest. Once a true tropical forest thousands of years ago, eons of geological activity, including the Andes Formation, as the oceanic Nazca Plate pushed into and subducted under the South American Plate over millions of years, creating the massive Andes mountain range, seen just beyond the Valley of Sorrows, which is what Desierto de la Tatacoa translates to. The Desierto de la Tatacoa is located between two fingers of the Andes Range, in a wide valley, creating a massive rain shadow and parching the once lush green area and turning to what is now considered a semi-tropical desert. It was the rainy season while we were there in late October, with infrequent rainstorms and what locals refer to as aguaceros, roughly translated as water mountains. Our first night we understood why, as an absolute deluge raged and pounded the tin roof of the small hotel we stayed at and left the roads a bit of a mess, and the nearby Magdalena River flooded and its banks overflowing with muddy runoff. The formations, appearing as crazy sort of miniature canyons, ravines, earthen towers, and rock and dirt formations, are actually the product of thousands of cattle. In the 16th and 17th century, when Spanish colonists brought thousands of cattle, the animals' hooves carved paths that then led to the gradual rifts and deep swaths cut through the earth that would form the basis for further erosion through wind and rain, carving intricate soil formations as the earth slowly washed away over hundreds of years. Fast forward to today, and the formations, peculiar and ranging in size from just a few meters to several stories deep, they are a spectacular sight. And the flash floods and rainy season storms and aguaceros continue to carve out the thousands of washouts and small canyons, showing off the deep reds and stacked sediment layer patterns that have come to be the well-known emblematic sites of El Desierto de la Tatacoa. As we wound our way down the small gullies and valleys, our guide explained some of the ecology in the area to us, and it was unbelievable to see just how many species of birds, wildlife, and how a completely unique ecosystem existed after we had driven through so many lush green places. Seeing this entirely new ecosystem, an entirely new landscape, really gave us an idea for just how diverse the ecosystems in Colombia really are. Getting tons of footage and tons of photos, we capped it off seeing a small family of owls nested in the walls of clay. We also saw 7 species of cactus and an unbelievable amount of bird species frequenting the area in search of fruiting cacti, seeds, insects, small lizards, and nesting sites for dozens of species ranging from black vultures to burrowing owls. Named by the conquistador Gonzalo Jimenez de Quesada, El Desierto de la Tatacoa is technically not a desert, but actually a dry tropical forest. Tatacoa also refers to the Spanish word for rattlesnake, given that there are many in the area. With the heavy erosion occurring continuously due to the clay composition of the soil, the clay is also what gives its rich red and tan coloration, creating a deep labyrinth of small canyons, ravines, and gullies, sometimes 60 feet deep. El Cusco is the red desert area, with cacti, dozens of bird species, and our guide led us on what was really a fairly easy walk exploring some of the formations created by the little rainfall that does occur. Los Hoyos, is the other side, and generally known as the Gray Tatacoa Desert. With differing soil compositions due to phosphate and sulfur in the earth, this area is equally as interesting, and you can still to this day find ancient fossils of reptiles, prehistoric crocodile teeth, and fossilized leaves and trees, the evidence that the area was once a lush jungle. With the recent rainstorms, the local Magdalena River had swollen and its banks nearly overflowing. We met a couple of critter friends before taking on one of the other short but very cool smaller tours on a lancha, or powerboat, to see some more wildlife and hear about the legends of the river. Between stories of UFO sightings and even the ghosts of children, our captain spun fisherman tales that we did enjoy as we navigated the only slightly terrifying flooded river. One other couple were also on the boat, and this guy decided to take a swim, which I am not so ashamed to admit I did not do. But it was fun to watch, and he did make it back safe. With one massive storm happening the night we were able to stay, we were slightly unfortunate that we didn't get to see what El Desierto de la Tatacoa is also very known for: stargazing. With its own observatory, an ideal location close to the equator, away from any light pollution, the stars can be amazing. But what we did get to see and experience, at the time completely unbeknownst to us, was that we timed our mere 2 days in Villavieja, the exact day of the town's cabalgatas, with prancing horsemanship skills, hundreds of rural Colombianos and vaqueros and llaneros showing off their skills, parades through town, and everyone celebrating and passing around the traditional drink of aguardiente. It was amazing. Aguardiente is an alcohol made from anise, sort of like a licorice flavor, but a clear alcohol. A true slice of authentic rural Colombia, and the vaquero culture with its historic roots in Spanish promenades. Riders pranced their horses through the streets with specific movements, showing control and skill. As what looked like every single person in the small town taking part in, we had an amazing experience watching the festivities, as riders gathered in the main plaza in front of the church, with the next day's main event being a horse race. But our race was actually a 12-hour drive back to Medellín and finishing off our own cabalgatas. Knowing that while our road trip through Colombia had taken us from Medellín to Guatapé, through the coffee area to Salento, Quindío, and south to Villavieja, our bigger journey throughout Colombia had only just begun. We had taken helicopter rides and kayaked, seen Pablo Escobar's one-time vacation home, stood atop megalithic rocks, felt the waters of giant waterfalls, and seen how coffee is grown. We saw the tallest palm trees in the world, had some of the best coffee in Colombia, and saw more incredible birds and wildlife than we could keep track of. We had no idea what else was in store for our trip throughout incredible Colombia, but by this time we had figured out that it would continue to be unbelievable. And we were not mistaken, as we geared up and found our flights for the next stop of our Colombian adventure, Cartagen and Isla Rosario, the hot city with nightlife, street art, colors and culture, and the tiny island paradise where I would complete my first scuba certification and truly change the way I experienced and understood the ocean.